back with you now, because when it comes to the fight for truth, the buck never stops.
It's hour number 3 of America Now. Buck Sexton is on vacation. He will be back in a couple days. Bryan Suits filling in from Los Angeles. My home base is KFI in Los Angeles, and I am the host of the Dark Secret Place, which is the decade-old one-stop shop for the entire world melting down. Dark Secret Place here on KFI in Los Angeles, also available as a podcast at connectpal.com. You can follow me at Dark Secret Place on Twitter. That has my Proton Mail email address. So if you want to contact me privately, then use that Proton Mail email address. And for example, here's a real world example of how I operate. Last week, right before New Year's on Thursday, the sheriff of Los Angeles County, which is a historically very corrupt position, announced this just astounding lowering in the crime rate. In felony and property crimes and all this. And he didn't claim personal credit. And he also pointed out that the crime rate went down in 2017 in the entire region. Now, keep in mind, in Los Angeles, there's 19 million people south of Santa Barbara. And half the state is below Santa Barbara. So he didn't claim credit for everything, but he said, it's going down, and it's been quite remarkable. I was contacted by rank-and-file field deputies of Los Angeles County and other police departments who were livid that this sheriff said that because of reclassification of certain crimes. Literally, the crime rate was pencil-whipped down by reclassing certain felonies as misdemeanors. And the sheriff didn't mention that. And then meanwhile, the property crime rate is skyrocketing in Los Angeles County. And he didn't mention that. Because they don't note that anymore. It's in a different category. And that there are a lot of deputies, and there's a lot of this going on around the country. There's a lot of deputies who won't get out of their car based on, certain suspects and certain crimes and things like that. They don't want to see their name on the paper. Just ask Baltimore. Look what's going on in Baltimore. Baltimore, per capita, is the murder capital of America. I know you're thinking Chicago, but Chicago, the murder rate went down from 667 down to 500 and something. I forget what it was, but it was still a murder and a half per day. Still, almost 2 murders a day. Closer to 2 murders a day if you're rounding up. But it's a much wider area, though the murders are concentrated in just a few neighborhoods. Baltimore, though, is just killing itself. And this, of course, remember, 3 years ago, the people of Baltimore, people in certain neighborhoods in Baltimore didn't want to see the police anymore because the police were the problem because a guy was bounced around the back of a van and he died of his injuries. Freddie Gray. Meanwhile, people in Freddie Gray's demographics, African-American male between 20 and 40, are busy killing each other in Baltimore. And that was the reality 3 years ago. And then they said, we don't want police anymore. We don't want to see police. So what'd they do? They passed a law. This is one of the things they did in Maryland, because they were just aghast. This conspiracy of police officers to kill this guy, they thought, both white and black, for the record. But Maryland did all kinds of really brilliant things, like they outlawed undercover cops. They outlawed undercover cops. You have to wear your uniform now. And do you ever watch The Wire? That was based in Baltimore. Effectively, the entire premise of The Wire, they outlawed that. And guess what's happened to the murder rate? It's skyrocketed. You know why? Because cops don't want to get out of their cars. They don't want to be indicted for doing their job. They don't want to be splashed on the news. And that's what's happening in Los Angeles. And so we had a sheriff get up and obfuscate. He didn't lie. He just decided not to report the ugly truths, just the nice truths. And so I was emailed by a couple of my regular guys, and then a couple new ones. So, and you know what I do? I shut the hell up. I don't ever use your name on the air. I read your content. Oftentimes I paraphrase it because there might be someone out there that recognizes your writing style. So I will, if I am paraphrasing, I will state that I'm paraphrasing. But anyway, I guard your identity. So Dark Secret Place at protonmail.com is how to reach me. And you can see that on the Twitter machine. So the president went after, this is his foreign policy by Twitter today, started with Pakistan last night, talking about the $33 billion that we've poured down a rat hole called Pakistan, this impossibly corrupt government that actually formed the Taliban in the 90s, doesn't seem to exactly be on our side in the war on terror, and he called them out. And the Washington foreign policy establishment, most of whom you will see on Morning Joe tomorrow morning, just talking about what a lout this Trump is and the whole thing. You'll see the daughter of one of the worst national security advisors we've ever had, Brzezinski. His daughter is the future Mrs. Scarborough, and they're all going to denounce Trump's foreign policy by Twitter. But here's the deal. It seems to be working. We actually got a reaction out of the Pakistanis. He is tweeting his support of Iranian protesters, unlike Obama. He's not calling for a decrease in violence on both sides like Obama did, as if people without guns can somehow take it down a notch. He also, a few hours ago, called out the Palestinian Authority, that Ponzi scheme that exists just to accept foreign donations. But they do not turn it into hospitals and elementary schools and libraries and things like that at the rate it comes in. They enrich themselves. And Trump called out them for $233 million, and he said, they will not agree to come to the table to talk to Israel about peace, and they expect us to keep passing on this money. And so here is President Trump about half an hour ago. Now, on New Year's Day in North Korea, Kim Jong-un came out in a light-colored suit, and believe it or not, that's a thing. That's a significant thing. He didn't come out in his, fat Mao jacket. He came out in a light-colored suit, and he said two things. He said, we have a fully, complete, functional nuclear deterrent, and I have the button on my desk. And by that, he means that their H-bomb has been warheaded, I guess would be the verb. Because, of course, up to that point, if he's telling the truth, up to that point, he has a missile that can reach North America. He proved that to us. Okay, we buy that. But we don't know what the payload was. And the window that we've seen closing is at some point they're going to put that H-bomb on that missile, then that is a weapon. Because an H-bomb buried under a mountain in a test range, that's not a weapon. That's an exercise in mining. The other thing is a missile that may or may not have a warhead. Until you put that bomb on that missile, it's not a weapon. The minute that's a weapon, then that's your deterrent. Well, he said they have their deterrent. So if he's not bluffing, then there's probably not going to be a window where America can actually do this bloody nose strike and take out their nuclear facilities and all that. So here's what Trump tweeted half an hour ago. He says, quote, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un just stated that nuclear button is on his desk at all times. Will someone from his depleted and food-starved regime please inform him that I, too, have a nuclear button, but it is a much bigger and more powerful one than his, and my button works. I got to give him credit. That's actually kind of funny. But unleash the chattering classes, because this is 7:49 on the East Coast. Mika Brzezinski and Joe Scarborough are not in bed yet for their show tomorrow, but they are going to be apoplectic tomorrow. Because now, if true, if Kim is not bluffing, then he has a deterrent. And you know what? This just might, if you're Kim and you read this might simply be Trump conceding, saying, all right, you think that you have a nuclear deterrent. Well, we have a bigger one, and mine works. Maybe maybe he reads this and says, oh, then we've come to an agreement. Because that is a part of the, as we've run out of choices and we've come to the binary point where we are with North Korea, where either we attack or we accept them as a nuclear power. We're now at a point where we have to call their bluff. We have to say, all right, you're bluffing, we're going to strike your nuclear facilities, and you are not going to retaliate on South Korea, or we will topple your regime, or we're going to destroy these facilities and you can stay in power. Or option B, you retaliate on Seoul, we nuke you anyway, or we overthrow your regime. That option, if he's not bluffing, that option is off the table. Because, of course, he would respond with nuclear force. Why else would they make them? All right, when we come back, the Chinese are making some really curious moves. As they move more and more, nearly 400,000 troops are to be moved to the Chinese-North Korean border. I'll tell you about it here in just a second. But first, a word from our sponsor, and a great sponsor, Crate Club. If you haven't gotten a chance to check out the Crate Club, you're definitely going to want to do that ASAP. It's a subscription to get a box of assets. Promo code Buck.
The truth of these histories. Weekday mornings accurately predict because they don't believe it. And download it now and never miss a Rushism.
And you know her from Fox News. She's the editor.
The truth of these histories. Learn about weekday mornings at 6 on the Patriot, AM 1150.
I'm pretty convinced now, based on how many people have
Accurately predict because they don't believe in this. Rush Limbaugh. Weekday mornings at 9 on the Patriot, AM 1150.
We now have a North Korea because of Bill Clinton's horrific deal with the North Koreans and his attempted bribery of Kim Jong-il, which is Kim Jong-un's father, of energy and billions of taxpayer dollars. And the problem, this is a good deal for the American people, good deal for America. No, it wasn't. Because now they have the ability to reach the continental United States. And that means that America is going to have to now react.
Sean Hannity, weekdays at noon on the Patriot, AM 1150. Blazing through your radio, the Patriot, AM 1150. Create your own station. Go to patriot.la and download it now and never miss a Rushism, Hannity, back, a local story, or anything KEIB has to say. Download it now. The iHeartRadio app for your smartphone and heart KEIB wherever you go. You're listening to the Patriot, AM 1150.
In Iran are changing by the moment, and so I thought we would get an expert, an absolute expert on. You know her from Fox News. She's the editor-in-chief at theforeigndesk.com. She's also an Iranian-American investigative journalist based here in Los Angeles. Lisa Daftari joins us, and we'll talk about I want to talk about the Foreign Desk, your venture, your news venture, coming up a little later. But Let's start with the latest out of Tehran, out of Iran in general. So let me start with this. How widespread are these protests versus 2009, and how organic are these protests versus 2009?
Hi, Bryan. Those are some great questions, and thank you for giving such a thought to this very important issue that was buried over the weekend with regards to our foreign policy, with regards to human rights, with regards to who would have thought this would have happened again? I for sure did not. After 2009 and watching these brutal crackdowns on these young children coming out into the streets, being quashed so badly, and then to come out again only several years later. But now there's some differences. And I think you really hit the nail on the head. The main difference being that this is not just a Tehran millennial type of uprising. This is expansive. And we're talking about cities that have traditionally been conservative, clerical, religious, pro-government, where you have masses of people chanting, not about the economy, not about anything but death to the dictator, which is the ultimate thing that they could be chanting chanting right now. The slogans have become so radicalized, very similar to 2009, where it started as a contested election and evolved very quickly into taking down the entire regime. Now you saw the same thing. Maybe the underlying currents here were a very poor economy, watching their government pour their money into Hezbollah, into Syria, into Yemen, into Iraq, saying enough is enough. And very quickly, all around Iran, city by city, I'm watching from the ground, that they're asking for an end to this Muslim clerical regime.
Yeah, that's the thing that really struck me. And while looking around for American media analysis on this, obviously the American media was on vacation, last week, this week. They can't be bothered with this. And for a lot of people who are unaware of this, I'll have you explain, because the American media doesn't understand this, that the, quote, president, close quote, of Iran, whether it's Mahmoud Ahmadinejad or Rouhani, the president is practically a figurehead. The real power is always laid in the hands of the Supreme Council of the Islamic Republic, the Skiri, and the Ayatollah Khamenei.
Absolutely, and I think that's the lie, or the good cop, bad cop, that's been played fraudulently against the Iranian people. So they would have these elections, and to make the people feel like they have a choice, first of all, the election would come from, only the candidates who would be approved by the Expediency Council could run. So who are they going to choose? Obviously, people who are part and parcel of their system, their regime, etc. Rouhani just won a re-election, and he won this re-election and won his first election based on the fact that he was, quote-unquote, this moderate figure within the regime. He also ran his campaign on being this economic savior for the Iranian people, and obviously he failed on both those promises. And now you see the first days of the protests, a lot of the slogans were against Rouhani. But again, very quickly that evolved into slogans against Khamenei. And now they're basically calling out all these figureheads and saying, you're all the same, we're done with it, we don't want a dictatorship, and calling out the entire regime, and starting with these chants against Khamenei, going very, 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 very quickly and becoming radicalized by setting fire to a lot of these sites, vandalizing property, and now backing down. I think in 2009 we saw a more sheepish type of crowd. Obviously they weren't as seasoned. I think the years between added a lot of pressure to the Iranian people. I think it taught them a lot about organization. I think there's still something missing for them to go to phase 2, to move this movement and to get some significant outcomes from it. But I definitely see some major maturing from 2009, which has led to this movement lasting so many days and expanding so wide across the country.
Yeah, there seems to be a pretty widespread sophistication in regards to how to get your message out electronically. So the regime now has evidently just about 2 hours ago shut the internet down, but people are still finding a way to get out. So I want you to comment on that, and without compromising your sources, of course. But then, secondly, it seems like the people on the streets phase is either at its high water mark or it's about to move on. Like in 1979, the next big indicator is when security forces, whether it's local police or the drafty army, not the Pasdaran Revolutionary Guard, when they start going over to the side of the demonstrators. So let me ask you that first. Have you heard of anything like that happening so far?
That's going to be more tricky. Then the reason for that is because in 1979, you had the Shah's forces were of the Iranian people. It was like this country. The cops are Americans. They're part of the population. In Iran, you have the Revolutionary Guard. The Revolutionary Guard has its different branches, and of course, the forces that are out on the streets are the Besiege forces. The Besiege forces are usually this paramilitary kind of day fighters that are brought in, whether they're Palestinian, Jordanian, they're not Iranian. So they're not as empathetic to the cause of the Iranian people on the streets. They will kill for their next meal. And that's the issue we have. We saw the same brutality when Khomeini's forces were of the besieged, with same type of individuals that were unleashed onto the streets to kill, to make everyone go back into their homes. Unfortunately, that might be the next step in the escalation here.
Hang on a second, Lisa.
Of brutal.
Yeah, we'll do that. Lisa, tell you what, we've got a hard break coming up. Sorry to cut you off. We'll return to Lisa Daftari when we come back, our Iran expert. She's an LA-based Iranian-American, first-generation American. She speaks Farsi, and she's a great primary source for everything that's going on the ground in Tehran. So we'll continue talking with Lisa Daftari. Also, foreignnewsdesk.com. It's a terrific international news site, a great aggregator, so check it out. Bryan Suits filling in for Buck Sexton. We'll be back right after this on America Now.
You are a thrill seeker. Anticipation drives you closer until you arrive at San Manuel Casino. Once inside, you rock the roulette wheel and strike up a winning streak. You hold all the right cards in the high-limit room and give your luck a run for its money. This is the all-thrill experience. San Manuel Casino. All thrill. Must be 21 or over to enter casino. Please gamble responsibly. 1-800-GAMBLER.
Fox News Radio. I'm Jill Nato. At least 12 people known dead from the cold snap hitting much of the U.S.
From Texas to Canada, wind chill advisories and freeze alerts are in effect. The cold is being blamed on an Arctic air mass and shattered low temperature records in many areas. The cold even reaching as far south as Florida, where vacationers have been hoping for a break from the chill.
This is a vacation weather. It's cold. It's really cold.
Temperatures down south range from 25 in New Orleans to a balmy 32 in Mobile, Alabama.
Fox meteorologist Adam Klotz. Senator Orrin Hatch, the Republican from Utah, heading for the exit from Capitol Hill. After serving more than 40 years in the Senate, Hatch announcing he won't run for re-election. That could open the door for a potential run for the seat by former presidential candidate Mitt Romney. The Dow closing Tuesday up nearly 105 points. Fox News, we report, you decide.
2018 is not just a new year. It's also an opportunity to grow your business with top talent. But how do you find it? ZipRecruiter. One click sends your job ad to over 100 of the web's leading job boards. But ZipRecruiter doesn't stop there. Their smart matching technology will instantly alert quality candidates about your job. That means you'll start getting great candidates with the right experience almost as soon as your job is posted. No wonder 80% of employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just one day. The right candidates are out there. This is how you find them. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
People from businesses of all sizes trust ZipRecruiter for their hiring needs. We're so confident ZipRecruiter will get you better results than anywhere else. We'll let you try it free. That's right, free. Just click the banner now or go to ZipRecruiter.com/iHeart. That's ZipRecruiter.com/iHeart. ZipRecruiter.com/iHeart.
Hi, it's Jamie, Progressive's Employee of the Month, 2 months in a row. Leave a message at the... Hi, Jamie. It's me, Jamie. I just had a new idea for our song about the Name Your Price tool. So when it's like, tell us what you want to pay, hey, 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 and the trombone goes, blah, 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 and you say, we'll help you find coverage options to fit your budget.